Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, your host, and we're in luck because we're on the Agronomy Farm here on the K-State campus, and we're also in luck because we have our environmental quality specialist, Dr. Peter Tomlinson, and Peter is going to be coming on the show here in just a second, talking to us about what's in the soil and why it's important. So get your cup of coffee, hurry on back so we can start the show.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, your host, and we're in luck because we have Dr. Peter Tomlinson, our environmental quality specialist here at K-State, going to talk to us today about soil microbiology, soil biology, and I know you're sitting there thinking, he's going to do what? Yes, we're going to be talking about critters in the soil. So Peter, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Jim, for the opportunity.
Okay, so kind of regale me here.
Yes, so, below our feet when we're standing on the soil, there are a wealth of organisms in that soil. In 1 teaspoon of soil, we can have hundreds of thousands to billions of organisms in that 1 teaspoon of soil. We can have tens to hundreds in an agricultural field, anywhere from hundreds to tens of hundreds of yards of fungal hyphae. Earthworms, nematodes, all sorts of organisms live in our soil.
Don't forget gophers.
We've got gophers. Don't fit in the microbial and the size fraction that I tend to think about in the soil, but certainly gophers do change our soil. When we think about an earthworm, for example, we think of them as Mother Nature's rototiller. They are constantly moving through the soil, mixing the soil, breaking down our plant residue in terms of the size of the pieces of plant residue. They create an environment that is a
healthy one.
A healthy environment that promotes bacterial and fungal growth, as well as the growth of our many other organisms that live in the soil. So really, having a good understanding of what's happening in terms of our soil ecology and how our farming practices both benefit and potentially harm our soils is important in looking for opportunities to make the soil a healthy environment for our soil organisms. Certainly our growing plants are an important piece of that. The plant roots produce carbon compounds or release carbon compounds and sugars that are a great food source for fungi and bacteria, and they but if we think about our growing crops, they're only on the field for a short period of time, and so one of the things the practice that's coming into favor is cover crops and keeping living roots in our soil system and our cropping systems for the entire growing season, if that's at all possible.
Peter, I'm going to have to stop you here. We're going to take a break. Folks, stay with us, get your cup of coffee, come on back after these words from our sponsors.
I'm a patient of Kansas Regenerative Medicine in Manhattan. I had stem cell therapy in my hips and my left knee. My wife and I both are patients. We went down there the same day in November. Since then, my hips are feeling a lot better. I can work now most of the day if I want to. And before, if I worked in the morning, I was done in the afternoon, or if I worked in the afternoon, I was sure enough done for the rest of the day.
Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. As fourth-generation farmers themselves, they understand the importance of using the correct products on every acre. Farmers helping farmers. Heinen Brothers Ag offers quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia. Call today at 800-760-4964 or find us online at HeinenBrothersAg.com.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484.
Healthy cows start with the new hired hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher. Get the new hired hand for yourself or become a distributor. Visit cowsprayer.com. The new hired hand makes healthy cows easy.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, your host, and with us we have Dr. Peter Tomlinson, our environmental quality specialist. And Peter, thanks for staying with us during that commercial break. And you know, Peter, we're standing in a no-till field here. We got soybeans growing into some corn stalks, and across the way over here we got a little more clean till, not quite clean till, but you know, that's been one of the big things, not only water conservation with no-till, but we're talking about soil health as well. And we alluded to the earthworms a second ago, but kind of carry the conversation a little bit further about the old system of clean till versus, say, no-till.
Right. And so, you know, as we compare the two systems, you know, certainly, you know, there are some challenges there with a system that relies on, or a clean till system. Certainly one of the areas that I work in is water quality, and you know, there's certainly a lot of concern across the state about sediment transport to our lakes and reservoirs, and that
nutrients going with it.
Nutrients going with that sediment, nitrogen and phosphorus runoff from those systems. And so, you know, there are a number of management structures, terraces, grassed waterways, buffer strips that we can put in place. But one of the ways that we can quickly change the amount of loss of soil and nutrients from our agricultural systems is transitioning to no-till, where we don't have tillage implements going through the field. We're leaving that plant residue on the surface, and we're relying on the soil biology to perform that tillage operation.
So to speak.
Right.
Yeah, because, you know, some fields have a boatload of residue.
They do.
You know, a couple hundred bushel of corn, a crop has quite a bit of residue.
And it will take time for that residue to break down.
Mm-hmm.
We've got organisms in the soil that their job is to shred plant material, tear it apart, break it into smaller pieces, and then that's followed by our colonizing organisms, our bacteria and fungi that are going to grow on those smaller pieces of residue. There's more surface area for them to grow on, and they're going to be breaking down the chemical compounds in that residue.
I was going to say, what's in it for them?
Well, there's food in there.
Okay.
There's nitrogen, there's phosphorus, potassium that they need, as well as micro and macronutrients and amino acids that the organisms need to grow. And you know, as they grow and die, there's a whole nother group of organisms that come into play, our consumers, and this does include nematodes, mites, protozoa that are feeding on the bacteria and fungi, and as they eat those, the bacteria and fungi, they're taking in the nutrients that the bacteria and fungi got from the plant, and they're incorporating some of those nutrients into their body and for their growth, but they're also excreting plant available nutrients that can be taken up by the growing plant, or they themselves will die, be consumed by bacteria, and the cycle begins to repeat.
Peter, hang on here. My cameraman's telling me we've got to take a break. Folks, grab a cup of coffee, come on back. We'll go again on the show.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
I'm a patient of Kansas Regenerative Medicine in Manhattan. I had stem cell therapy in my hips and my left knee. My wife and I both are patients. We went down there the same day in November. Since then, my hips are feeling a lot better. I can work now most of the day if I want to. And before, if I worked in the morning, I was done in the afternoon, or if I worked in the afternoon, I was sure enough done for the rest of the day.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer. It's good to see you got a cup of coffee in your hand there. And with us, we still have Peter Tomlinson. He didn't run off. It's twice now he didn't run off during the break. Peter, you know, a lot of times I think of microorganisms, microbes in the soil, I think bad. Okay, I think bad things about them. But, you know, like you said just a second ago, they're very important. And one in particular is
Mycorrhizae.
Mycorrhizae.
Mycorrhizae, it's a group of fungi that grow in association in a beneficial relationship with our plant roots. We can find them in soybeans, in corn.
Now you're not talking about, I'm thinking a symbiotic relation. You're not talking about bacteria for the legumes. We're going to talk about that in a second.
We will talk about that after the next break. We're talking about the mycorrhizae fungi that play a very important role in helping the plant meet their phosphorus and potassium needs, as well as in times of moisture stress, helping them meet their water demands.
Okay, obvious question is, how do they do that?
How do they do that?
That's a lot to you.
Yes, so in terms of a soybean, the mycorrhizae that infect those roots are arbuscular mycorrhizae, vascular arbuscular mycorrhizae, and they infect the root. They grow in the root, and then their fungal hyphae, the fine hairs of the fungi, extend out, and so
through the root
out into the soil. And so where the root is only accessing a very small part of the soil, the fungi can increase the amount of contact, effective contact, that the plant root is having from 100 to 1,000 times. Yeah. So the surface area that they're able to pull in really phosphorus and potassium is greatly increased. And in exchange for those nutrients, the plant is providing the food that the fungi needs to grow in terms of
the photosynthase, so the sugars.
The sugars, the carbon-rich compounds that the fungi need to grow. And we can find mycorrhizae not only in our agronomic crops, but they play a very important role in our pine forests across the country, as well as many other plants.
It's big in corn. So obviously corn and soybeans. I know there was a researcher here a few years back that was working on wheat mycorrhiza.
Yeah, there is some new research that's being done here right now at K-State looking at mycorrhizal inoculums and wheat, and you know, there's just a lot that we don't know about this very important plant microbe relationship.
So that's one of the good guys, or good gals.
Yes, it is.
Peter, I got to take a break here. Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Now another gardening tip with Annette Jackson.
Fall is a great time to plant trees, shrubs, and perennials. Root development this fall means more growth with less watering next year. For faster root growth, always use Fertilome Root Stimulator. It is the only stimulator which contains IBA rooting hormone. Use Fertilome tree and shrub food after the plant has been planted for a month.
Save 25% now on Jackson's homegrown hardy perennials. Let Jackson's friendly staff help you select the best plants for your landscape.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer. We have Dr. Peter Tomlinson with us, our environmental quality specialist, and we've talked a little bit about good organisms, mycorrhiza. We just mentioned that a second ago. We got an example of another one here that we all know about, and that's with soybeans.
Yes. Here we have an example of Rhizobium bacteria that forms a nodule on the root of soybeans. In fact, our farmers across the state will add inoculum, which is basically it's a live dose of this very beneficial bacteria to make sure that their soybeans are going to nodulate. One of the challenges that we've seen so far this year is with the cool, wet soils. We've been seeing some signs of nitrogen deficiency in our soybeans, and nodulation in many areas across the state has been slow so far.
That's because of the saturated soils.
The saturated soils, low oxygen levels, and cool soils. The nodule creates an oxygen-free environment that's important for the function of the bacteria and the biochemical processes that are occurring within that. And the red color that we see in those nodules, if you slice them open, it's a good sign, a good indicator that the nodules are functioning and active.
Fixing
nitrogen. And that's the compound in there is called leg hemoglobin, similar in characteristics to our own hemoglobin that helps with oxygen transport and plays an important role in the overall chemical reactions that are occurring within that nodule.
Peter, thank you for telling us about Rhizobium and their interaction with soybeans. And folks, come on back after these words from our sponsors.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan here. Be sure to join me in Wichita, Kansas, September 15th and 16th as myself, Dr. Tom Knopfsinger, and Dr. Mike Apley are going to host Beef Today's Cowboy College. We're going to talk about how to start cattle on feed and some of the new management techniques of getting calves started on feed. To register, go on the internet to www.beeftoday.com/Cowboy College. Get registered, and I'll see you in Wichita, Kansas, September 15th and 16th.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 550 AM on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains. We would like to join your management team.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer. With us we have Dr. Peter Tomlinson. And you know, Peter, we talked a little bit about earthworms early on, and I know that you have a passion for earthworms, and not from a fishing standpoint. I know putting them on the hook and get a lot of perch that way and sunfish, but that's how I like to use earthworms. But Peter, talk to us a little bit about earthworms. They are not respected as much as they should be.
That's right, Jim. Earthworms are a very important piece in our soil ecosystem, a very important piece of the biological community, and they are under-respected. And what I'd like to share with your viewers this morning is that we have a wide range of earthworms that we can find in Kansas, and not all earthworms are the same. We have many different species of earthworms that live and do their job in different parts of the soil. So we have a group of earthworms that are classified as epigeic earthworms, and this group is the worms that we'll find in the litter layer, the thick litter layer within a forest, and sometimes in our prairie systems. The next group is our endogeic earthworms, and this group of earthworms we tend to find within the soil profile.
You're talking about the upper 3 or 4 inches, or are you talking
It can
several
be the
feet?
upper, primarily in the upper foot is where we'll find them. They're consuming...
Those are the good ones for fishing.
Well, we'll get to the good ones for fishing in a minute. This group will feed on decaying roots and other organic matter that's already been brought down into the soil profile. And the final group is our anesic earthworms. The classic example of an anesic earthworm would be the night crawler, or in technical terms, Lumbricus terrestrius.
Okay, I'll pass on that one, but okay.
And this earthworm forms a permanent or semi-permanent burrow. It's the one that will come to the surface and actually tear apart pieces of plant leaves and pull them back down into their burrow. If you find a burrow and you break it apart carefully, there are times that you'll actually find the inside of that burrow lined with plant leaves. And part of that is that they're coating that with soil and mucus and basically creating a environment for bacterial and fungal growth, so that that leaf begins to break down and becomes a better source of food for them. And you know, the waste that's excreted is rich in nitrogen, potassium, and calcium, magnesium, and many other nutrients that are needed for plant growth.
Okay, let's get to the fishing ones.
So, you know, from a fishing standpoint, Lumbricus terrestrius, or our night crawler, is a good fishing worm. We'll share today that it's important that we are careful with our bait worms. There have been a number of instances across the U.S. where throwing the bait worms on the side of a stream or lake has actually led to the introduction of an earthworm that's not native to that area. And we've actually seen some significant changes in the amount of organic matter and the cover on that soil. And so we've actually seen some cases where we're seeing more erosion that's having a negative impact on the fish habitat in those streams. Just be cautious with your worms when you go fishing. Use them, but take them back home with you and put them back in your garden where you dug them out of.
Peter, I really appreciate you taking this time to talk about the various soil microbes and your passion, earthworms. Okay, folks, thanks for being with us on this show, and don't forget, next week about this same time, we're going to have another show of That's My Farm. See you then.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamInKansas.com.